Do you feel like you're winning, or do you feel like you're wasting away and deserve better? Either way, the science behind the unfair advantage is fascinating and scary, and here's why. In a study, they chained a mouse to a spring and measured how strongly it pulled. In round 1, they put cheese in front of the mouse and found it pulled quite hard. And in the second round, they had a whiff of cat fur. The mouse pulled 10 times harder in the second round because it had more adrenaline, more fear, and more to lose overall. A block of cheese versus its life. And in a nutshell, this is the pattern we see everywhere in life. The harder life is for you, the more likely you are to act and develop advantages others don't have. You see this with rich people who get richer and richer despite bigger problems. With every problem an entrepreneur overcomes, they become more confident and even better at handling stress, which helps them get even richer and build a billion-dollar company. You see it with athletes as well, getting career-ending injuries and making even stronger comebacks, losing big before they win even bigger, like Tom Brady, suffering a huge injury, but soon after, winning the Super Bowl again and again. The more hard times you overcome, the easier it gets to beat those hard things, and it becomes an unfair advantage. On the flip side, if things aren't working out, you feel overwhelmed, you're lost, and you're full of self-doubt, you're more likely to stay trapped. And the longer you stay trapped, the less likely you are to escape. So the way I think about hard times for me is you're either being positively pushed or negatively pulled. How many hard times have you beat, and how many hard times are you still suffering with? It doesn't matter, because we can tap into a simple strategy that allows you to turn those hard times into an unfair advantage. The best part is, everything I mention in this video can be done in just 7 days, so you can actually change your life fast. And I'm not just saying this for the sake of it, by the way, because in 2018, and you'll have seen on my channel previously if you're an avid viewer, I was diagnosed with cancer at just 16 years old. Pretty much the hardest thing any adult on earth will ever face. And look, I was just a kid. Look, that's me in bed right there getting chemo done, wondering how long have I got left to live? How I've accomplished nothing, all because death wasn't gonna let me. Now, I had a pretty good childhood. Both my parents were doctors. I went to a good school, and I even had a remote job paying me $800 a month managing influencers. I was definitely in no position to complain, but I hadn't actually achieved anything yet. I wasn't super talented, I didn't have any natural ability for sports or anything like that. Honestly, I was a pretty average kid in most aspects. So when the hardest time of my life finally kicked in, I had two options. I could either cry about it and accept my fate and die having achieved nothing, or I could have worked insanely hard, the hardest that I've ever worked, and make a name for myself with the time that I had left. And probably to everyone's surprise, I actually ended up choosing the first to begin with. I accepted my fate, staying in bed all day, counting down my days. And I did this for 4 months, but then something clicked. You can see my relationship with hard times change in this very moment. And after this point, I was never the same. Now, here's the exciting part. You don't have to wait for this magical click to happen to you. You can actually force it, thanks to 5 advantages from this book that anyone can create. What's your relationship like with where you are at in life? Is it bad? Or could it be worse? Could the situation you hate not be bad enough for you to change? Well, there's this concept called an FTE, your fuck this event. When I was being negatively pulled, I realized my relationship with hard things absolutely sucked. Up until that moment, I'd honestly faced very few hard points, such as being targeted for the way I look and maybe just like a shitty boss. But it was never something so bad that I was forced to change so aggressively. My mindset had to change. The way I perceived the position I was in had to change. And what really helped me at that 4-month mark was remembering the hard times I'd faced and comparing it to the one that I was currently in. Okay, I got bullied once when I was 5, or maybe my first job had a shitty boss, or that girl ejected me once in front of everyone. Great, but it was never as bad as it was right in that moment. So I want you to look at the hard moments you've went through and compare them to right now. Look, it's obviously never been worse. You're behind everyone your age, you're out of shape, and you have no social life. You've never even tasted true success. So stop coasting and letting life happen to you. You need to happen to life. Most people are in the middle, where it's just bad enough to be miserable, but just good enough not to change. You come home from your miserable job or university or school and you binge watch Netflix, or you waste time with a girl just to forget the pain you're actually in. So I want you to find your FTE, and I want you to feel the pain and tell your brain this is the hardest time of your life. And then you'll be presented with 2 options. just like I was. Either you can accept defeat or face it head on. The same question I asked myself on that hospital bed. But rather than do what I did, don't wait for that magical switch. Force it, but wait. If you force it, like everyone else around you once did, you will stay stuck forever. Your kids will hate you, the hot girl that said no to you once will still see you as a loser, and you'll give up after a week or two after that TikTok motivation dries up. Self-centered, selfish, arrogant. Those are words we associate with someone who is egotistical, and it's seen as a super negative thing. Oh, you should be humble and not see yourself as better than anyone else, and you should learn from others. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's good advice sometimes, but it's actually better to let your ego take over a lot of the time. Here's why. Most people want better, but don't actually believe they deserve it or that they can achieve it. It's because your ego just isn't strong enough. That voice or person inside you that tells you what you deserve, how strong you are, how easy or how hard something is for you, that voice needs to be fed. You've starved it all your life. There's actually an easy way to feed your ego and force that click that we spoke about earlier. Every one of us, including you, has gone through hard times before. Unless your dad is mega rich and the biggest problem you faced is, what Gucci bag to buy, all of us have faced something difficult and we are still alive and well. So what I want you to do during this video, I want you to grab a pen and paper or get your phone out and get your notes app and literally write down every single hard time you can remember. And I'm saying this now, literally get your phone out and write down every hard time you can remember. That could be getting rejected, being broke, your mum even hiding just the cookie jar when you were a kid. And you'll notice that when you write these down, you got stronger and stronger the more hard times you faced. That wasn't by chance. Each difficult moment gave you an advantage that everyone else doesn't have. So I want you to tell that inner voice inside you, this shit's gonna be over if you face it head on. The stronger your ego, the more inner motivation you'll have to be anything that comes your way. And that is exactly what I did. This is the piece of paper I wrote on 6 years ago. And you'll notice that life gets harder and harder the longer you live. But if you let your ego grow bigger and bigger alongside it, it's built to face those hard times. Don't get me wrong, it still feels like David v Goliath. Like you're never gonna get through this hard time, but your chances are much better. This next one is something so simple, but it's a reason even with an FTE event and a stronger ego, you're probably still stuck and can't escape this hard time in your life. Now ask yourself, do you feel sorry for yourself? I want you to imagine you're the captain of a ship sailing the vast and open sea, and one day you find yourself staring at the sky where dark clouds begin to form. The sea starts to stir and a nasty looking storm approaches. In this moment, you face a challenge similar to analysis paralysis, a situation where too many thoughts and options lead to no action at all. However, the urgency of the storm demands immediate action. You realize that going back and forth too long can be as dangerous as making no decision at all. Instead of falling into paralysis by analysis, you choose to act decisively. You start barking orders, adjusting the sails, securing the decks, and steering the ship to keep it as stable as possible. And each action you take follows a simple but powerful formula. Action, results, belief. With every maneuver that brings a positive outcome, your confidence and that of your crew grows stronger. And this cycle reinforces the belief you can manage the storm and any other challenges that come your way. This approach is covered in The Unfair Advantage and teaches us an important lesson. What holds people back is that they plan too much and act too little. When you take no action and you overthink, you're probably going to end up missing your window of opportunity. And when you do finally act, it's too late and you fail. So you think that hard time you're facing has got you trapped, when in actual fact, analysis paralysis is the biggest killer of your dreams. So just think less and do more. Stop planning your business or your fitness journey and just start. Act more so you can learn and achieve even quicker. Now, let me ask you if this sounds familiar. You set a big goal, like starting a business to make 10k a month within 6 months, or even lose 100 pounds and get shredded. You're fired up and ready to take on the world, but then the end of the day rolls around, and what do you have to show for it? Just hours of watching fitness or business videos and maybe a few notes, but no real progress. But why does this happen, even when we're committed to our goals? It's often because our goals are too broad and too overwhelming. Now, let me share a quick story about a student from my IMA challenge who faced this exact problem. He wanted to hit 10k a month, but was stuck in constant consumption loops, not making any progress. So we simplified his approach. We broke down his big goal into 3 daily actionable steps. Outreach to at least 30 potential clients, create content that showcased his expertise, and focus on getting insane results for the clients he already has. That's it. He focused only on these 3 tasks every day, and within 2 months, not only did he reach his goal, he tripled it. hitting 30k per month. So here's my tip for you. If you find yourself spinning your wheels, narrow down your focus. Write down 3 or 4 specific actions you need to take every day to reach your goal. Simplify it to the essentials, and you'll find yourself actually doing what it takes to succeed. Now, the next one I want to go over is going to be a weird point that I'm trying to make, so stick with me here. All your life, you've been lying to yourself, and it's why your brain is actually smaller than everyone else's. Nope, I'm not making this up. There is actual science backing this.
There's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. But what's interesting about this brain area is there's now a lot of data in humans showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, when people do anything that they don't want to do, it's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do. This brain area gets bigger.
This part that human refers to doesn't just grow when you do something hard that you want to do, it also controls and decides how good you are at making hard decisions and managing stress. You've been hurting it by lying all your life. From a super young age, you set an alarm for, say, 6 a.m, but snooze it again and again, and by the time you're out of bed, guess what? It's already 8 a.m, and you started the day with a loss. Or you might write down a list of 5 things you want to get done by tomorrow, but you only complete 2 of them, and you push the other 3 to the next day. This becomes a constant cycle because those tasks turn into this overwhelming pile that you just can't manage anymore. You keep telling yourself you'll finally get all your protein in today, or you'll make progress towards your business. But in the back of your mind, there's a little voice that says, oh, it's fine, I'll do it later, no big deal. And whenever you make a commitment or a promise to yourself, you just simply don't keep it. You lose trust in yourself, and more importantly, you lose trust in your word. And that is the most important relationship you have with anyone or anything. And if you lose it, you're in big trouble. How much do you currently trust your own word? If you say you're going to do something, does it actually get done? Or are there a bunch of excuses being made? And I guarantee you're not where you want to be, and all you have to show for it is lame excuses you even yourself do not believe. Because even during chemo, I knew I was copping out, and that might sound really stupid or really hard, but I knew that. I had all the time in the world to work in a business and make it work. And the reason you have to face these hard times in your life isn't just to get in shape or to make more money, although that definitely is a good bonus, but it's so you can do something that sucks and is challenging and regain your trust. Because the more hard times you decide to face, the stronger that cortex will become. It's like training a muscle. If you do 3 sets of 10 bicep curls twice a week, every week, your bicep will get both bigger and stronger and be able to handle heavy shit. The same idea applies with your brain, and this part will get better at handling stress and better at decision making. Basically, every skill or tool you will need to be able to face hard times in your life will get bigger and better. But doing shit you don't want to do is hard, and I get it. So eat a frog. Now, this definitely is the weirdest example I've used yet, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck? But trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. If you had to eat a frog every single day, non-negotiable, when would you want to eat it? Seriously, imagine seeing a frog alive and well before it's boiled alive in front of you and served on a plate. There's 2 options, as soon as you wake up or later in the day. Most people want to delay grabbing a fork and eating that frog. Now, obviously I'm not actually talking about a frog here. I'm talking about that one task that you've been putting off, that outreach you haven't done yet, that email you need to reply to. But this is actually the wrong decision.
I've got this concept called anxiety cost. So kind of like opportunity cost.
Yeah.
When you have an unmade decision, every single second that you spend thinking about the unmade decision could have been gotten back had you just made the decision.
Like Chris said, you'll just feel like shit all day and probably build up more anxiety delaying it. So it's better to just get it out the way. So just imagine not having that gut-wrenching feeling and the buzz you'll get from having a hard task done. But more importantly than that, I actually want you to implement everything I've said so far. Because with me, within just a few months, I flipped the script. I took myself from a kid with cancer, pitying myself and asking why I had to face such a hard time, to running a business that has over $370,000 a month. I do everything I want to now. I work when I want, party with celebrities, and drive the nicest cars I dreamed of. But don't get me wrong, there are still days where I'm working 12 to 14 hours. But that's time I'm spending entirely for myself and not someone else. Forget all of this though. The flashy things and the parties. The most fulfilling part, the actual reward for beating those hard times, was helping my parents. I bought my dad a Rolex, and the thing I'm most proud of is I retired my mum. And I did this all because I hit rock bottom, I let my ego take over, and I simplified the shit. needed to build my marketing agency, the business where you can connect influencers with brands and make bank in the process. And if you're interested in starting one, a free and easy way to find info on it is by joining my newsletter. I write weekly posts about how I find clients, the time it takes to source deals, and also a realistic view of how all of it works. So check that out. It's the first link in the description and also in the pinned comment.